Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Dr. Jaws here. And tonight we're going to meet a really cool and I shouldn't say unusual, but I would say probably, at least in the United States, relatively unknown shark species called the Grinning Izak, Holohalaelurus grennian. Let me make sure I got that right. Holohalaelurus. Sorry, Holohalaelurus. So it's kind of tricky to pronounce in Latin. But it's a group of cat sharks that are pretty common in Africa, and it's a mix, or I should say, this one is southeastern Africa. But a lot of the Eddies and the Isaacs live in South Africa, so it's going to be kind of cool stream talking about South African cat sharks as well as the Eddies and the Isaacs. So you may have heard of the Happy Eddie, or I think we're talking about the Grinning Izak tonight, but there's another one that's a little bit more popular than that. I'll check my Sharks of the World reference guide. In the meantime, I have some fun footage of South African sharks. So this is a dive with a couple different species. So we saw some black-tip sharks earlier. And actually, this is a black-tip shark right here. And we'll kind of like fast forward just so you can see some South African sharks. These are like pelagic sharks, so sharks that are swimming in the, higher in the water column. But we'll eventually get further down towards the seabed where you'll see the cat sharks like the Grinning Izak and the Happy Eddy, as well as pajama sharks and shy sharks, which are distant cousins of the Isaacs and the Eddies. So here we go. Holohalaelurus and Holohalaelurus. Okay, there we go. Okay, so in the latest copy of I guess not the latest, the 2015 copy of Sharks of the World, you have the Honeycomb Izak, the Grinning Izak, the Crying Izak, the Izak, so just like the, or also known as the Izak cat shark. And these are all the same genus Holohalaelurus. There's also the African spotted cat shark that's a member of the same genus of Holohalaelurus. And then the Eddies I think the Eddies might be another name for shy sharks. So it's a group of shy sharks that are called Eddies. But I just really think it's funny it's a group of sharks that are named like human names, like Eddies and Isaacs. So, let's see. And I think the Eddies are just another name for shy sharks. So, just double checking through the guide. Okay, cool. So I think as more people hop on, we'll take a deeper look at the shark dive footage for South Africa. So again, this is kind of a preview of South African species. So here is a black-tip shark. I think further in the video we have bull sharks. So you can take a look at that. There's a bull shark. This one is a black-tip. You can kind of tell the difference as far as the black tips have kind of more angular features. Bull sharks look a lot stockier. This is definitely a black tip shark, has more of the sharper looking dorsal fin, pectoral fins, definitely a more pointed snout, and then it has prominent black tips on the pectoral fins. This is actually the same black tip shark that is very popular or populous in Florida, and that makes those famous migrations up the coast to the mid-Atlantic of the United States. So same species, it's a pretty cosmopolitan species. Hey Quackers, welcome back. Hope you had a really good weekend. Yeah, let us know in the chat any fun updates. Mine was pretty relaxing overall, didn't really do too much. Yeah, just kind of like did some wedding planning and oh yeah, well that's a big boy. Yeah, so that was a black tip shark. So really nice size actually on this individual, and you have a really cool remora on its back. I know there was a bull shark earlier. Let's see if we can get that bull shark again. So this is just a really cool series of clips of South African sharks, and this is kind of adjacent to where the Grinning Izak lives. So these are sharks that are common in the mid water column. This one I think is a bull. Yes, this is a bull shark. So this one has a blunter snout, kind of more squared off first dorsal fin, heavier, stockier body. Both of those are bull sharks. So They're cousins of black tip sharks, but they're just a lot heavier, a lot more dangerous. So. Oh, cool! Mine was pretty chill weekend. Getting ready for a choir audition and trying to choose an art song to sing. That is so cool. That is super cool. I wish you the best of luck, Quackers. My fiance actually used to do choir, so choir is really cool. Very, very, very awesome skill. So yeah, just you have our support. So more sharks to see from this series of clips. I think they will include great whites, which I would probably, there you go. Great white cage diving. So you can argue that. Thank you. I really appreciate that comment. Thank you. You can argue that the great white sharks are the probably the most famous South African denizens. As far as the sharks go. But Blue Planet 2 did a really cool special where they were talking about sharks of South Africa. They teased the great white, but it's really about pajama sharks, which we'll see. And I think they also showed some clips of seven-gill sharks. So I'm going to just fast forward to some underwater footage of white sharks. So very, very popular South African shark species and very famous, almost infamous. This is the area where white sharks leaping out of the water as an attack pattern for seals. This is the area where that was first documented. So South Africa is absolutely on the map as far as just really incredible shark biodiversity, and then also just incredible shark science, shark behavior. So great whites, not great pajamas. So yeah, amazing to see a great white shark here in this clip. This is also a cosmopolitan species. Great whites can be found pretty much anywhere in the world as long as it's not like the Arctic. They shy away from tropical areas. They like to be more in the temperate zone, but they can be found virtually anywhere as long as the salinity is right, so as long as the water is salty enough, and then the temperature is right as well. So not too cold and not too warm. So really cool shots of a great white lurking in the shadows. And I promise we won't spend too much time on this because we're going to get to our Catshark. But I have to say, it is a beautiful species. So let's move forward to see. Oh, that's really cool, actually. Let's move forward to see some sharks like the pajama sharks that are going to be found closer to the seabed. So what's kind of fun is like South African coastal waters, a lot of areas are reminiscent of, I would say, like the west coast of the United States. So it's kind of very rocky, has a lot of kelp forests. And in this kind of area, you have a lot of little sharks that love hiding under the rocks or swimming in between fronds of kelp. So here's one right now. This looks like almost a smoothhound. I think that is a smoothhound. So this is not the pajama shark, but this is a really cool triachid. So a member of the smoothhound family. So it's a cousin of a leopard shark and the dusky smoothhound. I'm not sure exactly which kind of smoothhound this is, but very fun to see. As a scuba diver doing something very dangerous, which is going into a cave. If you are certified for cave diving, this is fine, but if you are a novice scuba diver, this is extremely dangerous to do. Because for scuba diving, you really should not be going into areas where you don't have an exit, like you can't ascend. So you have to have special training in order to be confident and comfortable in an area like this. And if you don't have this training, if you are just, beginning, this is just an extremely risky thing to do. I was actually kind of surprised during my training course. We did go into like an underwater school bus, which it's very short, very manageable. But I was very surprised that we did that because it's kind of it's not a safe scenario because again you don't have an exit. You have to ascend, and it's just like or like if there's an emergency you have to ascend, and that's there's a little cat shark. That one looks like a shy shark. I'll rewind so you can get a better look. Sorry, I got so distracted by scuba diving that it's this little orange shark that just kind of popped out of nowhere. So we'll see if we can see it again. But yeah, when I was doing scuba training, talk about the magic school bus. Yeah, I mean, it was a cool experience, and I got some good footage from it. But it was also really freaky because it was like, oh, that there he is. There's this little cat shark at the bottom of the screen. So that is a shy shark. So I think we'll see. I have some more shy shark clips. So shy sharks are cousins of the Grinning Izak. So we're getting closer and closer to what the Grinning Izak looks like. It is a classic cat shark build. But, just very long. The dorsal fins are further back on the body, implying that it's kind of a slower swimmer, a shark that likes to spend its time on the seabed. And here we go. We got a lot of little sharks right here. So these are definitely cat sharks. I'm not sure what species these guys are. I'm not as familiar with South Africa waters, but it's so cool to see them get that close to the diver and just kind of voluntarily, out of curiosity, just like swim up. There's quite a few of these little sharks. Given their size, some of these might be babies, like very, very little individuals that may have not recently hatched, but maybe young of the year, so it might be their first year. Some of them look very, very small. That looks like a pajama shark. He just went through the kelp. There he is again. So that is a pajama shark right there. So has these kind of hilarious-looking stripy, hilarious-looking stripes that are reminiscent of pajamas, or striped pajamas. So we'll probably see it again, because I know I have a couple other clips of pajama sharks. There's also, I forget if this lives in the same area. This is a different kind of cat shark in the frame right here. There he goes. I don't know if this is the same area, but there is the pajama squid, which I think pajama squids could be found here, but and I believe it's a kind of cuttlefish. So I don't know why we're filming this diver's rear, so we'll keep going. Oh, this looks like a 6-gill shark. So these guys are extremely cool. These are actually kind of dangerous to be around. They have, this one is kind of smaller and more approachable, but one thing I learned on this channel is that the shallow water 6-gill sharks, I think this is a 7-gill shark. This is a broad-nosed 7-gill shark, if I'm not mistaken. What's tricky about these guys is, clearly they swim very slowly, and this individual has his caudal fin bit off, which is really sad. They swim very slowly and they seem kind of harmless, but they actually have huge jaws, and they have been known to be kind of inquisitive about divers and, get up close and personal and actually take curiosity bites. So the 7-gill sharks, they seem innocent, but they're a shark to kind of be a little wary of. So. But amazing, and there's another 7-gill shark right there in the distance. But amazing habitat, like incredible diving, and clearly you can see a lot of wonderful shark biodiversity. So many different species of sharks swimming in the same kelp forest community. That looks like a shy shark. So the bright orange coloration is kind of giving that away that this is a shy shark. So these sharks are very cute. If they feel threatened, they curl up into a donut and they cover their eyes with their tails. Here is a 7-gill shark again. Again, swimming directly towards the divers, so these guys are pretty curious. This is the same individual too, because he has the upper caudal fin bitten off. So, but yeah, I didn't quite finish my diatribe on diving because there's so much going on in the footage that I want to make sure I'm covering it. Oh, there's a pajama shark. So front and center, this is a pajama shark. Hopefully the frame kind of can go down a little bit so you can see it. You can kind of see him. I know he's behind the text right now. There he is, kind of peeking up. There he is. Okay, so this is what a pajama shark looks like. So this is a kind of cat shark. It's a kind of a stockier looking cat shark. And they get to be a little bit larger. They kind of remind me of swell sharks in that way. And swell sharks are a kind of cat shark too. There's, I believe, over 100 species of cat sharks in the world. So a lot of them are deep water species. Some of them are shallow water species, like the pajama shark, or there's a pretty famous one in Great Britain, and I can't remember what it is called. It's like the it's a cat shark you could dive with, and I can't remember what it is, but. But some cat sharks are reef-dwelling species. Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm glad they swam right up to the camera because it's so cool to see just that unique pattern for the pajama shark. Here's another seven-gill shark. This one has a really cool speckly pattern, a little bit of a smaller individual. Oh yeah, yeah. I just saw your comment clackers, and that's fair. I mean honestly, I don't think anyone wears, just you know I don't think anyone really wears striped pajamas anymore. Myself, I either have black pajamas or I mean I guess I won't go into my pajamas, but like silly pajamas. I'll just leave it at that. But another shot of that seven gill shark. So I think that's a kind of Hixantius. So there's a huge one in the deep ocean. The blunt-nosed six-gill shark is a huge species of six-gill shark that's a cousin to this species. There's also the sharp-nosed seven-gill shark, which also lives in the deep ocean. This one is a seven-gill shark that lives in shallower water. Really beautiful, kind of like starry coloration on its back. Really large eyes, very large mouth relative to body size. These sharks have multicuspid teeth. Oh, and look at this in the same shot. There's a little cat shark. Excuse me. So this is again just an incredible area to dive as far as sharks go. And then speaking of diving, just so I put a pin in this point, cave diving is extremely dangerous because you don't have an exit. You don't have, like, ascension is always an exit. If you're diving in open water, if something goes wrong, you can always go up. But if you're in a shipwreck or a cave, you don't have an exit and you're trapped. So that's what makes that aspect of that kind of diving dangerous, and that's what requires an additional level of training and an additional certification. Night diving is slightly similar in the sense you have to get trained for night diving, and it's because it's just very disorienting. Like diving itself in even the clearest daylight is a disorienting kind of experience. It's very hard to lose it's very easy to lose your way underwater because you don't have like a fixed waypoint. And you have the currents and the tides. You have all these forces that kind of push and pull you, and it's very easy to get confused. It's hard to get landmarks, but there's a way to get trained on it, and there's underwater navigation is a really cool course that is highly recommended for all scuba divers to do. So there are ways to navigate underwater, and I think night diving is an extension of that. But great shots of the seven-gill shark. Cruising around near the bottom, probably looking for some snackies. And the seven-gill shark, that was actually a really cool shot of a seven-gill shark and a pajama shark meeting and the pajama shark yielding. So yielding is really interesting behavior. It's when two sharks are swimming on a collision course, and then one of them has to yield to the other. So there is typically yielding between species, and it depends on the species. So a lot of sharks yield to bull sharks. It's really cool to see that in this clip, there's a pajama shark that's going to swim up to this seven-gill shark, and then pajama shark will yield. So the pajama shark will come in now and then immediately turns around because he does not want to be on the business end of the seven-gill shark. So many of the larger sharks are generalist feeders, so they will eat anything that's smaller than them. So not all of them, but many of them will do that. And so that pajama shark probably knew that he was in a little bit of a risky situation, getting so close to that seven-gill shark's mouth. We have a couple other clips to review, but I think since we've seen all these species, we'll take a quick look at tonight's shark. I didn't know sharks went to driving school. Oh my gosh, love it. Yeah, there's actually a lot of really interesting aquarium studies about yielding where I think for some hammerheads, and I can't remember if it was the bonnethead, I think it is the bonnethead shark, that they kind of have like a hierarchy, and I think large females dominate in that hierarchy, so large female bonnetheads tend to have kind of like the right of way versus other bonnetheads in the same school. In multi-species aquaria, all the sharks yield to bull sharks. So in an aquarium setting where a bull shark or sand tiger shark are together, sand tiger will always yield to a bull shark. If a bull shark and a sandbar shark are together, sandbar shark will always yield to a bull shark. A sandbar shark and a sand tiger sometimes will kind of like jostle, like they'll, one of them might yield or the other might yield, but everything yields to a bull shark, which is so interesting, and it's so on the nose that I almost wish that wasn't the case, but it makes sense though because bull sharks do eat other sharks, just being the kinds of sharks that they are. So yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. So this is tonight's species. This is the Grinning Izak, Holohalaelurus grennian. Discovered in 2006. So we unfortunately don't have footage of the species, which makes sense just given that it's kind of a recent shark, and a lot of these Izak and Eddie cat sharks, there's not a lot of info on them. But we still have some photographs and some beautiful illustrations of what the Izak is. So we'll talk about kind of more about the species, and then we'll take a look at yeah. I love this. Puffy does not look like he's happy. And yes, Quackers, I'm going to start this comment. We stand a matriarchy, 100%. 100%. So, the Grinning Izak, and again, there's actually a collection of cat sharks called Izaks or Eddies. So I'm going to type in Eddie Izak. So Eddie and Izak, these are two groups of cat sharks that are in South Africa, or I shouldn't say South Africa because some of them are just in southeastern Africa as a region, so not just the country of South Africa. But for the Grinning Izak, I believe the name comes from the mouth, which is kind of large, proportional to the body size. But for the Grinning Izak, there's no enlarged denticles on dorsal surface, pectoral fins in adults. So that's a very specific detail. So this might be a way to tell this apart from other kinds of cat sharks. There's a large white spot above the pectoral fin insertion. So that's actually a pretty handy mark to help identify the species. Slightly enlarged denticles on dorsal midline of body. White spots occasionally in front of dorsal fin origins, but not both dorsal fins. So that's actually kind of interesting. Characteristic narrow, dark, horizontal stripe on both dorsal fins. So apparently Grinning Izaks have these little dashes on their dorsal fins. Anal fin base length 1.5 times or less than pelvic fin base length. There's actually a very elongated anal fin. And overall, the body plan for the Izak is an extremely long shark with a very short underdeveloped upper caudal lobe, and then a very long lower caudal lobe. So this is probably a reef-dwelling or rock-dwelling species that likes to spend most of its time on the seabed, and probably does not exert a lot of energy swimming. Color, dorsal background yellow-brown with numerous small, solid, dark brown spots. White spots present, but not numerous. Ventral surface uniformly white to pale gray. And it's a very small shark, maximum length about 27 centimeters. I want to say that's not even a foot, but let me make sure I have that right. So, centimeters to feet. 27. Yep, so that's like three quarters of a foot. So it's a very little shark actually. And then I'm going to zoom in on this photo. Because there's not a lot of photos of the Grinning Izak, but here's a species, a photo of this, here's a photo of this species. So you can see the white dot on the pectoral fin insertion, and then the two dashes on the dorsal fin. So, and then overall just this general, really adorable pattern of spots on the shark. So very spotty, probably the spottiest shark we've ever seen. And I don't think it was in any of the clips that we saw earlier, but it'll be kind of fun to take another look to make absolutely sure we didn't see an Izak in those clips. I'm pretty sure we didn't, because all the other sharks, if I'm not mistaken, had saddles on their backs, and then I think those are shy sharks, but we'll take another look closer to the end of the stream. So, similar species, there's a couple other Izak sharks, so there's actually quite a few here, but they don't have the same kind of markings, so... Agreed, Quackers, the pattern is so interesting. I 100% agree. And it is actually mercifully distinctive. I think the dashes here, the white spot on the insertion, and then the general spots on the body really help to identify the species. For the Grinning Izak, it's a very small catshark from the outer continental shelf and upper slope, from 238 to 353 meters. So that's actually a deep water. It's kind of a deep water species. It's like a twilight zone adjacent species. It's known only from a few specimens of Kenya, Tanzania, southern Mozambique, and possibly from off Somalia. So, is it meant to be camouflaging? That's a great question. What's interesting is that it looks like it should be. These colors look like they would do really well in a shallow water environment. However, the depth range of the species is very deep. It's 238 to 353 meters. So, oh, you're good. The twilight. So it would be the twilight zone. So, that's actually a really good question. I wonder if it actually appears in shallower water, but we just haven't found it yet in shallower water, because it seems so strange that it's such a colorful looking shark that looks like it's perfect for kind of shallow water habitat, but we haven't seen it in the sunlit zone. Otherwise, I will say there are some really beautifully colored shark, like the chain catshark off the east coast of the United States, that is also a deep water species, as this gorgeous color pattern that you would think would be great for camouflage, but it is a species of kind of the same depth range as the Izak catshark. So maybe this does help with its deep water environment in some way that I'm not really sure how. Perhaps one interesting theory is how reef fish have these incredible colors and these incredible patterns that kind of don't really make a lot of sense. Like, you have like a very bright, colorful reef fish that doesn't seem to be blending in with anything. There's a theory that it doesn't really blend in with anything according to our eyes, but to a fellow fish's eyes, it actually might be great camouflage. And so, because like every animal looks at light differently, perceives the world differently. And so, something that may not make sense to us might make sense to fellow cat sharks or, other animals that it is trying to hide from or, maybe predate. So, there could be a reason here. I mean, this really looks like camouflage to me, but there might be more going on as far as like what this color pattern comes from. Yes, so I love his comment, Quackers. Oh, dang, that's actually crazy. I never thought of that. That's such a fun mind game. Right? Like I love this theory so much. And I definitely believe in it. I definitely put stock into it because it makes sense. Like, not everything is going to... nothing's going to perceive the world the way we perceive it. So it's like, we have our own senses, but, tweak them slightly and you just get this entirely different perspective. So... it makes sense for like the reef fish having the different colors. There's an interesting philosophical experiment of if you magically waved your wand and gave a lion the power to speak English, like if a lion can physically speak English, it's still going to sound like nonsense because a lion's perspective of the world is just completely unrelatable to the human perspective. So even if it could physically speak a language and, still try to relate, it couldn't relate because it's just processing things and looking at things just too differently, where you're not going to have anything meaningful. So it's just like, like as not meaningful as if it's meaningless, but meaningful as in like there's no way a human can understand it because the two perspectives are different. So it's really cool stuff to think about. So yeah, lunch. Let's take a look at the other cat sharks, so the cousins of this species. So we've got the Crying Izak, which has kind of more of a honeycomb pattern, and it doesn't have the dashes, and it doesn't have the white spot. Very beautiful looking shark, but it definitely looks different from the Grinning Izak. Grinning Izak has the lighter pattern, the white dot, and the dashes on the dorsal fin. So Crying Izak. And I'm kind of curious where these sharks live. Does it have any notes on that? Deep water, okay. The African spotted cat shark. So this one is the same genus, and this one has very similar features to the Grinning Izak. It has a white spot and a pectoral fin insertion, so this is like, oh, this is a very closely related species. But it has V's on its dorsal fins, whereas the Grinning Izak just has these dashes. So that's a really subtle difference, but it is actually kind of interesting that, it is a different species and it makes a difference. So this guy, the African spotted cat shark, let's see where this lives. Same. So deepish water, so 220 to 440 meters. So it looks like all the Izaks, they live in kind of a similar habitat. And I'm wondering if maybe it's deep water camouflage, or maybe the colors mean something at depth that is not really immediately evident to us. So it's so interesting. I think there's a few more. The honeycomb Izak. This has simple spots, but it doesn't have a white dot, and it doesn't have dashes on its dorsal fins. But it still lives in deep water, so it looks like all these Izak cat sharks are found in the depths. And I think that's it. Oh, the balloon shark. That's pretty fun. So I've never heard of a balloon shark before. So, Cephaloscilium sufflens. So this actually is a cousin of a swell shark. So this is probably where it gets its name from. This is a shark that can swell up, kind of like a pufferfish. And it does that so it can wedge itself into rock crevices so as not to be dislodged. And then I think if it is a cousin of a swell shark, it probably barks. Swell sharks bark when they're out of the water or sometimes in the water. So, thank you, Quackers. No worries. I hope you have a great rest of your week as well. I hope it's equally sharky. And again, good luck on your choir practice. I think we'll just kind of continue on the stream looking at the biology of the Grinning Izak. So we'll take a look at, let's do fish base, kind of get an idea of where the name comes from. So firstly, the genus name Holohalaelurus, and I'm going to make this smaller so that it's a little bit easier to read for everybody. Holohalaelurus, holo means whole or entire, being the form of Holohalaelurus, without any labial folds or grooves in the mouth. And then grennian is from the Old English grennian or grin, referring to its wide, broadly arched mouth and relatively large dentition, which resembles an ominous grin. So I wish we had more photos of this species, because it would be kind of cool to see what that's really referring to. As far as, I guess the illustration, let's go back to that. When we look at the Grinning Izak, Quacker said it earlier, nothing about it really looks very happy. So, but maybe in life it looks a little bit different from a different angle. So, we said it's a deep water shark from the Western Indian Ocean, Kenya. And 2006, and not much else. So let's take a look at the conservation of the Izak, or Grinning Izak. So here we go. Grinning Izak cat shark is data deficient. So this is a new species that we really don't know much about. We could see its range. It is in the southeastern area, Africa, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique. Not quite in the country of South Africa, but kind of a slightly similar habitat. It is part of the family Pentanchidae, and I believe Pentanchidae includes the deepwater cat sharks, so the Aposturus, like the demon cat sharks. Yes, so this family includes the Iceland cat shark, which is a demon cat shark. So anything in Aposturus is known as a demon cat shark or ghost cat shark. The blackmouth cat shark, the white ghost cat shark, quite a few, including some pretty famous species. Shy sharks, quagga cat shark is a kind of famous species. So, interesting. Assessment information. The Grinning Izak cat shark is a small, deepwater cat shark that inhabits the continental slope from Mozambique to Somalia, including western Madagascar, at depths of 238 to 353 meters. There are no population size estimates for the species, as it is only known from few specimens. It occurs only in a narrow band of habitat given its known depth range. This cat shark may be susceptible to capture in deepwater trawl fisheries, for example off of Mozambique, and data are needed regarding the degree to which fisheries interact with this species. Therefore, the Grinning Izak cat shark is assessed as data deficient. Further research is needed on distribution, life history, population size, and trends and threats. So it's a pretty mysterious species, 238 meters to 353 meters in depth, so that's the shallow part of the twilight zone. Shark References doesn't have a lot more information other than it lives in the southeastern, I don't want to say quadrant, but southeastern part of Africa. And I think what we'll do, so let's see, we'll kind of look at some more science, and it looks like it's kind of a quiet night tonight, so we'll probably see what we can see about the Grinning Izak. This might be a historically shorter stream, so we'll see. And part of it is just a quiet night. Part of it is this is actually a newly discovered shark that doesn't have a lot of info, so we'll see where this goes. Range extension and a further female specimen of the Grinning Izak Holohalaelurus, Holohalaelurus, there we go, grennian, discovered in 2006. So here we go, by Brett A. Humem. A specimen of Holohalaelurus shark, recently collected off southern Mozambique, represents a southward range extension of 2,200 kilometers for the recently described Holohalaelurus grennian, Human 2006. This specimen presents not only a significant extension of its known distribution, but is also the only the second female specimen known for the species. Moreover, the specimen exhibits morphological characters, particularly coloration, which are more typically attributed to congeners occurring in the southern part of its range. This paper is an account of the range extension for Holohalaelurus grennian and compares the morphological and coloration differences in this specimen compared to the original species description. A shape analysis is conducted on the specimen, and a revised zoogeography of the genus Holohalaelurus is presented. Alright. This is a good one to tuck into, actually. Because I think the rest mentioned the species are kind of more about collections of sharks in general, so it's kind of cool to see something that's focused on this one species. So here we go. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll just kind of summarize anything that seems interesting. And I have never played this music before, but Witcher music, which I'm really enjoying, actually. It's quite relaxing. So. Okay, so Holohalaelurus sharks from the western Indian Ocean are poorly known and apparently rare, with the possible exception of Holohalaelurus regani in the southwest Indian Ocean, which is abundant in the southeast Atlantic, and their conservation status needs to be critically assessed. Holohalaelurus favus and Holohalaelurus punctatus from KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, and southern Mozambique were common bycatch species in trawl fisheries in the late 1960s and early 1970s. This area, by the way, is very famous for shark biodiversity. It's a bull shark hotspot also. Since then, both species have apparently suffered significant population declines and are possibly extinct there. No specimens of these species have been recorded since the 1970s, despite recent intensive biodiversity surveys as part of the African coelacanth ecosystem program. I forgot that coelacanths could be found here, so this was a huge discovery. I want to say that was the 70s or the 80s. The coelacanth is one of the very few lobe-finned fishes that still exist today. It's a major branch of fishes that, I mean, they're like their entirely own thing. It's kind of like a step between bony fish and amphibians. Yeah, these are kind of like, as far as like paleontology and evolution, these are an incredibly important group of fishes, thought to be extinct until I want to say it was the 70s or the 80s when coelacanths were discovered. These deep water, incredible animals that are just like so important to the evolution, or such important pieces of the evolutionary puzzle. I'm very lucky to have seen a preserved coelacanth. There's actually two that I've seen. One is in the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. I think there is one in the Smithsonian in D.C., Washington D.C. So, but very rare fishes, very important fishes for evolution, but like just like evolutionary studies. So, it's kind of cool that the African coelacanth ecosystem program, which is oriented towards living coelacanths, it's kind of cool that it's participating in shark science. So, let's see. So, Holohalaelurus punctatus is apparently a separate population distributed around Madagascar. Holohalaelurus grennian was described from 4 museum specimens consisting of 3 males and 1 female. The taxonomic history of the species was complicated by the placement of the female specimen in the Holohalaelurus melanostigma type series by Norman in 1939, which he assumedly did on the grounds of supposed sexual dimorphism. So, apparently, the scientist Norman thought that the Grinning Izak catshark had a very stark difference between males and females. So sexual dimorphism does exist in sharks. The most important one that's almost universal, it's not universal but it's close, is that female sharks are always larger than males. There's some exceptions, but female sharks tend to be larger than males. But as far as true dimorphism, there are some shark species that have like physical features. Sand devils have thorns in their fins if they're male, and smooth fins if they're female. Pectoral fins, that is. So, let's see. The placement of the female in Holohalaelurus melanostigma was due to lack of bona fide female specimens of Holohalaelurus melanostigma, which still holds true, and a male specimen conspecific as a female specimen at the time. Let's see. So it looks like this was a mistake that was corrected, which is cool. Not the first time. We've seen, I would say the first half of the 20th century, there's a lot of like presumptions or things that are later corrected in the second half of the 20th century and onward as far as sharks go, and especially taxonomy. Let's see, we'll kind of breeze through this. The type locality of the Grinning Izak is off Ras Nomeni, Kenya. Other specimens have been collected off Zanzibar Island and off Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, from depths ranging from between 238 to 300 meters. At the time the Grinning Izak was described, it was thought to be sympatric of only one other species of Holohalaelurus, which is Holohalaelurus melanostigma. So, I want to reference what that is. It's this guy, which is the Crying Izak. So it looks like the Crying Izak over here, and the Grinning Izak over here. These are kind of like slightly eerie names. It looks like they occupy a similar range. Let's see. Recently, a female specimen of Holohalaelurus was captured off Mozambique and was assigned to Holohalaelurus punctatus. However, this specimen is identifiable as Holohalaelurus grennian and represents a significant range extension for the species. It is the second female specimen of Holohalaelurus grennian in the collection and exhibits minor but noteworthy morphometric and coloration differences from the original species description. So, we'll just kind of breeze through. Let's see. And this is actually interesting. So these are where 2 Grinning Izaks are found in Kenya and Tanzania, but here's where the third one is found in Mozambique. So this is part of why this is a big deal, because that's a huge range extension. And we're not going to read the details. We'll just kind of skip ahead to the discussion. And just basic scientific paper language. You have the abstract, which summarizes the whole paper. You have the introduction, which kind of gives some good context for what you're reading, especially if for this stream, kind of in the short time that we have, having something that gives context in a very digestible way helps. You have the methods, which are just the nitty-gritty of how an experiment is done, and we don't really need to go into that. The results, which is the nitty-gritty of the results of the experiment, and then the discussion and conclusion. That's more of the kind of the meaningful bits of, like, what are we looking at, and what really can we get out of this research, and what's the greater context of it. So the known distribution of the Grinning Izak spans more than 22 degrees of latitude and is apparently restricted to the African upper continental slope. The specimen described here represents a southward range extension of 2,200 kilometers, which significantly extends its distribution. This species has previously been recorded from depths of 238 to 300 meters. At 234 to 353 meters in depth, this specimen represents the deepest record for this species. Despite this, the depth range for the species is restricted to just over 100 meters, possibly indicating a close affinity for a particular habitat. It is not known if the apparent depth range difference between the Mozambique specimen and the Kenyan Tanzanian specimens represent regional differences in habitat preferences. Okay, so this is really cool. So this is the new specimen that was caught, and here you can actually see the namesake. So you can kind of see how that mouth kind of almost looks like a smile. It's a little creepy, but this is how the Grinning Izak gets its name, is just kind of the size of the mouth and the fact that it kind of makes a little bit of a smile, and the size of the teeth are supposedly large enough where you can see them pretty evidently. You can also see the identifying marks of the species, so you see the white dot here on the pectoral fin insertion, so the pectoral fin insertion, and then the dark dashes on both dorsal fins. So a nice top-down view of this Catshark. So beautiful coloration pattern. And then a bottom up view. So it's kind of an interesting animal where it looks like, the stomach, the pectoral fins, the mouth, the head, they're all kind of concentrated in the first half of the body, even the pelvic fins. And then the second half of the body is basically all tail. So this is kind of an interesting looking shark. It almost kind of has like a tadpole-like build. It's pretty interesting. Here's some comparisons of the dorsal fin markings. Hey, Howard! Welcome back. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good weekend. We are talking about some South African cat sharks right now. So this one is the Grinning Izak. So we're kind of reading a scientific paper on this new specimen of Grinning Izak that has extended the range of the entire species, which is pretty cool. So, other than that, it's not really a well-known species, so there's not a lot of research on it, but it's kind of cool to see that there's variations in... this shark can be identified by these horizontal dark bands on its dorsal fins, and you can see there's quite a bit of variation. So some of these bands are narrow-looking, some of them are a little bit broader and kind of closer towards the base of the dorsal fin. So, Let's see. This specimen of Grinning Izak is interesting because it exhibits characters that are more typically associated with Holohalaelurus punctatus, which was restricted southwestern Indian Ocean distribution. The reduced dorsal midline denticles and the presence of the V-shaped markings on this Grinning Izak specimen is more typical of Holohalaelurus punctatus, representing possible regional differences and potential population substructuring within the Grinning Izak. Let's see. Furthermore, these differences may also speculatively be attributed to hybridization between the Grinning Izak and Holohalaelurus punctatus. So that species is, let's see if it's on here. It is. And that actually makes sense. Look at that. So this is the African spotted catshark. So this shark has white markings on the pectoral fin insertion and V-shaped bands on the dorsal fins. The Grinning Izak has similarly the white marking on the pectoral fin insertion, but it has horizontal bands. Yes, one of those bands resembled a slit, which is kind of interesting. Let's go back to that. Yeah, so these are definitely both bands, but they do look like that, which is kind of interesting to see. The coloration is dark enough where it does look like a slit from a distance. So the idea that those two species hybridize is not really far-fetched, given how close they are. So, in appearance, we know that sharks can hybridize. The famous example being the black-tip shark and the Australian black-tip shark. There are two different species that are known to hybridize. Let's see. Furthermore, these differences. Oh yeah. So we talked about hybridization. They're also saying the differences may be remnants of a speciation event and that these characters were lost as species dispersed northwards. Interesting. Let's see. So zoogeography of Holohalaelurus. Holohalaelurus sharks are distributed on the African continental shelf in upper to mid slopes from Namibia in the southeast Atlantic Ocean, around South Africa, and northwards to at least Kenya and probably Somalia in the western Indian Ocean. The exception to this distribution is a population possibly disjunct from the African shelf population of the African spotted catshark that occurs around Madagascar. The African spotted catshark is also found from KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, to southern Mozambique, though possibly extinct there now. It is sympatric with Holohalaelurus favus. I don't know what that one is. Oh, this one. It's punctatus. I know it's up here. The honeycomb Izak. Okay. Also, however, when we're talking about the Grinning Izak, so the key features for this species are the white dot on the pectoral fin insertion, the horizontal marks on the dorsal fins, and then finally the mouth. So this shark gets its name, Grinning Izak, from the mouth where apparently it kind of in life has this almost like, it's very large. It's a very large mouth and it almost has kind of like this smiling look. And also the teeth are very large as well. So you can kind of see that in this article a little bit in this photograph. So when we zoom in, the Grinning Izak does kind of have like a little bit of a smile almost. This is a preserved, well, it's not maybe quite preserved yet, but this is a recently captured specimen, female specimen, which this paper is about. But it's kind of interesting to see a little bit of an upturn in that mouth. So, but it's really the size of the mouth and the size of the teeth where it gets its name. So, I was reading about, here we go, honeycomb Izak with a similar distribution. Oh, nice! My weekend was great. Lots of riding. Accidentally had a nap before the live stream. No worries. I actually, and I apologize if you can tell, but I've actually had a very sleepy Monday today. I don't know what it is because I slept really well last night, but it's like it's definitely one of those like Mondays, which not bad. It's just kind of like it's a good chill kind of day, and I'm quite sleepy actually. So, hmm. Let's see. Holohalaelurus regani is all. I think it's a crying Isaac. Is also sympatric in this region, although it is more commonly found north and west of KwaZulu-Natal, around South Africa, and to southern Namibia. It is the only representative Holohalaelurus south and west of KwaZulu-Natal. Let's see. Oh, this seems important. The Grinning Izak was sympatric with the African spotted catshark and the crying Izak in the southern part of its range. Oh no, let me make sure I got that right. Flavus is not a crying Izak. That one is the honeycomb Izak. Sorry about that. So, all right. Let me rephrase that. So the Grinning Izak is and was sympatric with the African spotted catshark and the honeycomb Izak in the southern part of its range, but it may be the only species occurring in northern Mozambique and southern Tanzania. In northern Tanzania and Kenya, the Grinning Izak is sympatric with Holohalaelurus melanostygma. However, when the Grinning Izak inhabits the upper continental slope, there is apparent niche partitioning between the two species, with Holohalaelurus melanostygma inhabiting the mid-slope at depths of 607 to 658 meters. It is possible that both the Grinning Izak and H. melanostygma occur north of Kenya, and there are anecdotal reports of Holohalaelurus sharks occurring off of Somalia, which may be either or both of these species. Although it is likely that Holohalaelurus sharks occur in Somalia, they probably do not occur north of there, as there have not been recorded from the Red Sea, a relatively well-known ichthyofauna, and are likely to leave the African continental shelf to inhabit the Arabian shelf, as the Somali upwelling represents a significant ecological barrier. The range extension described here suggests that further deepwater trawling on the lower continental shelf and upper to mid-continental slopes in the western Indian Ocean will lead to further range extensions of the genus Holohalaelurus. So, interesting. So, really cool study on this catshark species. Again, these are not very well known sharks to, I would say, like the United States. I'm not sure how well these are known to Europe, but this is part of a collection of sharks known as Izaks that are in African waters, and specifically the Indian Ocean side of Africa. I don't think I have more Izak specific studies. So we might take a little pause to look at African sharks in general. So at the top of the stream, we were looking at some of this dive footage, which is a collection of African sharks, specifically South African sharks. So we do have cousins of the Grinning Izak in South Africa. It showed Quackers was on earlier, so I showed Quackers some of these clips. So we'll take a quick gander of South African sharks, and then we'll go back into see if there's any other research on the Grinning Izak, as well as sharks of African waters in general. So, for conservation, the Grinning Izak is data deficient. It's just a very recently, well, not very recently, but relatively recently described species, first described in 2006. So we don't really have a lot of information on it. Presumably, it might be okay. It seems like people don't really run into it that much, but. And we should probably check the conservation status of other Izak sharks. So after this clip, I'll take a look at that in a second, just to kind of get an estimate of how the Izaks are doing. But in this clip of dive footage, we've got black-tip sharks, so really beautiful shots of Crocodilus lymbatus, the black-tip shark. So these sharks are typically coastal, but they could be found in the mid-water column like here. A very safe species to dive with. Has a really incredible, sharp-looking, sharky look, but harmless to humans. They have been implicated in a few occasional bites, but they're really not really dangerous at all. I love their like sleek, kind of pointed look. They just have this like very unique look along with the black tips. They are very interesting, just very streamlined looking shark, and they're really, really gorgeous. Further along, we've got bull shark clips. Let's see, in these waters. There we go. That's hard to see from a distance, but I think that might be a bull. It's hard to tell. This one's definitely a black tip because it's very pointed looking. This one's a bull shark. You can tell by the rounded snout, the small eyes, the kind of more triangular looking dorsal fin. It's not as sharp looking as a black tip shark, but very cool to see bull sharks in the midwater column. A very dangerous species. Goes after larger prey items than black-tip sharks. Going after seal, marine mammals in general. Other sharks implicated in many human attacks. Black-tip sharks, much safer again. Let's see who else is in this footage. Kind of a fun shot of other, not dive companions, but South African travel companions. So these are penguins. I'm not sure what species of penguin they are, but South Africa is one of the few places in the world where you can meet penguins, and you don't have to be in an Antarctic environment. So they are one of the few places in the world with temperate penguins, which is a really cool trip to see. But these penguins seem pretty comfortable. Moving on, we saw some of this footage earlier, but we, absolutely have white sharks in South Africa. So, arguably the most famous denizen of South African waters when it comes to sharks. We talked about how Air Jaws was filmed in South Africa, and how great white sharks were first spotted charging after seals and launching out of the water as an ambush attack method. So, even though it's the most charismatic shark, when you see this animal move, you can absolutely see why. It's such a beautiful, powerful species, attaining a massive size. Oh, interesting. Howard, Hemiprisis elongata is known from Mozambique, but the only footage I am aware of comes from the Red Sea. Interesting. So this is a because of the snaggletooth shark. It's very cool. Yeah, because I think is that the clip that we reviewed when we did that stream? I think it might be, which is so cool to see. It was like clear water. The shark was going down a reef face. That's so cool. Speaking of reefs, we'll fast forward to kind of like a temperate reef environment. So it's amazing to see this white shark. Yeah, that is incredible footage, seeing this white shark chomp down on some bait. But we'll take a look at a temperate reef, like a rocky reef, to meet some shallow water sharks. And I think we'll fast forward. I was talking about cave diving, and that's when the first shark appeared, which was a little, it seemed like it was a shy shark. There he is. So yeah, a little shy shark kind of coming into the frame, disappearing into the kelp. So I mistakenly thought the Grinning Izak was a shallow water species that would enjoy this kind of habitat, but apparently the Izak catsharks are more deep water. And it's kind of cool to see that Izak catsharks are in the same family as demon catsharks, so the genus Aposturus, which are a very famous deep water group of sharks. Here's some shallow water cousins. So this might be another kind of shy shark here in this clip. So it's definitely a similar group of sharks. They're all kinds of cat sharks, like the Izaks, and these sharks in this clip are cat sharks, but occupying very different habitats. So Izaks are apparently deep water sharks, and these guys are clearly happy shallow water sharks. Moving forward, there's some really great clips of a 7-gill shark. So the shallow water seven-gill sharks are kind of deserve caution. They have really large mouths, very sharp teeth, are known to dismember large prey, and they can be kind of disarming because they swim very slowly. They seem kind of gentle, but the reality is these sharks are very bold around divers and very curious about divers and get a little bit too close and have been implicated in bites. So definitely recommend. It's kind of funny saying that and showing a clip of a very tiny, happy shark. But for seven-gill sharks, definitely recommend caution as far as approaching them. So, and there's a seven-gill shark in the frame now. So this is just really cool footage, kind of painting a little bit of a picture of South African waters. Clearly an incredible place to dive, an incredible place to meet a wonderful biodiversity of sharks. And I'm excited to learn more about African sharks, and I think I pulled up some resources that we'll take a look at in a bit to learn more about this group. So, firstly, let's check out the conservation status of Izak cat sharks in general. So the genus is Holohalaelurus. Let's see. On the ISM red list of threatened species, we have the African spotted cat shark is endangered, unfortunately. So that is a congenitor of the Grinning Izak. You also have the Izak cat shark, which is least concern. So these are two, polar opposite statuses of the same genus. So it's kind of hard to figure out where the Grinning Izak belongs. The honeycomb Izak is also endangered, but the crying Izak is least concerned. And then finally, the Grinning Izak, which is our species for tonight, is data deficient. So this is really running the gamut. So let's kind of figure out what's going on with these other Izak sharks. I won't read the entire assessment, but I'll just kind of break down the cliff notes. So for the African spotted cat shark, it's a bycatch in deep water trawls. It's rare in Mozambique trawl. Used to be common. Historic levels of fishing pressure. Ongoing fishing at lower levels of effort. A lack of recent records despite research and some possible refuge at depth. Suspected to have undergone a huge population reduction, 50 to 79%, and is assessed as endangered. So fishing. I feel like every assessment where a shark is not doing well, the root problem is fishing. Some of it is habitat loss, but fishing really is the big thing when it comes to sharks. Looking at a cousin, the honeycomb Izak, which is also endangered. Let's see. It's little known. It's a bycatch of deep water trawl fishing. Species common in fishery, historically in fisheries, but catch levels dropped suddenly with very few records confirmed since. So similar to the African spotted cat shark, the honeycomb Izak is used to be caught at a certain number, and that number has decreased significantly. So these two species are thought to be endangered. Conversely, let's check out the Izak cat shark and see how it's doing, because this one is least concern. It's caught in bycatch, but is discarded, and survivorship after capture and discard is likely high. Let's see. Population has increased. It's one of the most frequently captured lazarbrinks in southern African hake fisheries. The Izak cat shark may be able to tolerate moderate levels of fishing pressure due to its high fecundity in some refuge in deeper waters. Population is estimated to be increasing and is not suspected to be close to reaching a population decline threshold. Yes, Howard, I definitely agree with your comment. In finning, which does not deserve the dignity of being called a fishery. I 100% agree. Yes, I'm going to star this. Stop finning now. 100%. Yeah, this is a horrible practice. And I really appreciate a lot of countries, and I think the United States was the first to implement this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they outlawed, since the 90s, I want to say, you cannot land a shark unless the fins are attached. So you cannot bring home a shark to the dock uh, without its fins. If a shark is missing its fins, the dock is going to say, sorry, can't help you. You know, I can't pay for this. This is illegal. Which is an amazing, it's actually one of the most important pieces of legislation for shark conservation, where even though people are still fishing for sharks, you have to land the whole species, or sorry, the whole shark. And that's been a very effective way to prevent people from kind of cheating the system of getting shark fins and not identifying the species. Because, you know, once you have that measure in place, you can list species as protected, like great whites are protected, you can't land them. Hammerheads are protected, you can't land them, and so you can't sneak those fins into a dock. You have to bring the whole carcass, and if it's a hammerhead carcass, guess what? You just caught a prohibited species, and you have to pay a fine, you're not getting paid. So it is a very good start. I definitely agree that it's been very helpful to reduce the amount of bycatch. There's still a lot of more work to do. I honestly think the ultimate thing is this gets really tricky for other parts of the world, because fishing can be a primary source of protein for other nations, so it gets kind of into a trade debate. But I will say for the United States, you know, probably the biggest thing is, you know, consumer choice as far as where you're getting your seafood from, and is it being harvested in a practice that, you know, if you care about shark conservation, I think it's a great question to ask. Where are you getting your seafood from? And is it trawling, which causes habitat destruction? Is it like tuna fishing, swordfish fishing, which unfortunately catches sharks on the line as well? You know, these are important questions to ask, and, you know, I think ultimately the best thing to help sharks is a shift in consumer behavior, where even if you just reduce the amount of seafood that you consume, it can have a big impact, as far as, you know, just echoing, like, it has a big impact as far as that conscious effort, you know, kind of creates a reduction in demand that helps kind of create a reduction in hooks in the water for sharks. So I think, you know, legislation is great and everything, but you know, social consciousness also is going to be a huge part as far as what sharks need and how to help them. So, last little conservation assessment: the Grinning Izak catshark. Just want to take a look at that. Grinning Izak. This species is only known from 4 museum specimens. There's no estimate of population size or trend. The deep depths inhabited by the species currently provide a substantial refuge from fishing, and there is no other known threats. Therefore, the Grinning Izak catshark is assessed as least concern. Excuse me. Further research is needed on population size, trends in abundance, life history, and threats. So, kind of reading all of these, I'm going to assume that the Grinning Izak. So between the 5 species, the Grinning Izak is kind of occupying a similar depth range and geographical range as the African spotted catshark and the honeycomb Izak. So I think it's probably closer to the endangered side, but it might be not quite endangered yet. It might be vulnerable. But I would err on the side of the Grinning Izak being probably in more trouble than not. Compared to the other sharks. The other sharks seem to be in much deeper waters, and I noticed that the Izak catshark is kind of in a larger range that is not really in the Indian Ocean. It's between the Indian and the Atlantic Ocean. So I think the Grinning Izak is probably like not doing great, but it may not be as bad as the others. But I'm going to guess that this is kind of leaning towards a vulnerable shark species as opposed to the other ones. So. We already read kind of the notes on the Grinning Izak here, and we read the range extension. So let's see if there's anything we can find on this species specifically. And if not, we might learn about South African cat sharks, or African cat sharks in general. Or sorry, sharks of Africa in general. So yeah, because I think all of these are general studies. And depending on how much we have, we might end the stream slightly earlier tonight. So we'll see. Yeah, these are all kind of general studies. So I think with that, we'll probably just take a look at sharks of South Africa. And again, we might end a little bit earlier. So just in case, this might be a good time to pick a shark for next week. There was a really fun one that we saw a couple minutes ago, the balloon shark, which is a cousin of swell shark. So that might be kind of a fun suggestion. But honestly, I'm open to anything. So there's quite a few sharks to still cover. It's been a while since we've done a bullhead shark, or I think we did an angel shark kind of recently. But it's been a very long time since we've done a dogfish of some kind. So that meaning a general squaliform shark. So I think any kind of deep water shark or a bullhead shark might be a good pick for next week. So. But shark species in South Africa, let's just take a look. Kind of like this quote, sharks have been sculpted by evolution and are ideally suited for whichever ecosystem they inhabit, from coral reefs to the open ocean. This is incredibly true. It's amazing that when I was little, we mistakenly thought that sharks don't enter Arctic waters, or, couldn't be found at well, I think we knew that sharks could be found at depth, but I think we didn't realize that sharks could be in the Arctic, and the answer is yes, they actually can. Famously, or in polar areas, you can get sleeper sharks like the Greenland shark, and you can actually still get some dogfish, which is pretty cool. So, tropical areas, Arctic areas, deep water areas, the deepest shark known is it's beyond 4,000 meters, so you're getting into the midnight zone, and actually maybe even the Hadal zone. So some incredible pressures. So it's unbelievable how many habitats that sharks occupy. Looking at a bull shark specifically, that's also a photograph of a bull shark behind this text, by the way. Bull sharks could be found in the purest fresh water, 0 parts per thousand. They can also be found in hypersaline lagoons of 50 parts per thousand, which is unbelievable. Like brine, like actual brine. So between all of that, sharks can be found in so many different places. It's really unbelievable how adaptable they are. So let's take a look. Sharks of South Africa. And let's see if we can identify these species. So we've got, Portuguese dogfish. That's a really good pick, Howard. Let's double check to see if we've done this. Because if we have, we could definitely do a close cousin. I can't recall if we did or not, so I'm going to check my Squaliform playlist. That's a great suggestion, by the way. Pike dogfish, Greenland shark, viper shark, rough shark, purple shark. I forgot that with the frog shark. Yeah. Pocket sharks. Wow, Howard. Excellent pick. Okay, let's do it. This one is going to be really cool. So let's do the Portuguese dogfish. That's a fantastic pick. This is really exciting for me personally because this species is I've known that this species lives in deep water off our coast for a very long time, but I haven't really devoted a lot of study to it. So I'm so excited to learn more about it. Centroschimus coelolepis. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's an entirely new genus, and it's a sleeper shark. So it's a smaller, more compact cousin of Greenland shark. So I'm really, really excited to learn more about it. So beautiful suggestion. Thank you, Howard. That's going to be next week's shark. That is the Portuguese dogfish. That's a really, really great suggestion. So let's see, sharks of South Africa. We've got a white tip reef shark, so really fun dive buddy. That looks like a bull shark from the front. I'm going to click on that. Let's see. Protea Banks, which is a famous dive site. That is a bull shark, but it's kind of hard to tell relative to the rest of the body, but that's a bull shark. White tip reef shark. Beautiful sand tiger shark. I think in South Africa these are called ragged tooth sharks. In Australia they're grey nurse sharks, but I think South African name for this species is ragged tooth. Beautiful hammerheads. These look to be scalloped hammerheads. Seven gill shark. Let's see. Oh wow, this is actually incredible. Some 98 species of shark can be found in South African waters, putting South Africa on the world map for shark diving enthusiasts. That is an unbelievable biodiversity. That is so huge, actually. For context, the Mid-Atlantic region of the United States is about 54 species if you include a deep water species. If you're only including shallow water species, that's about 30 to 40. So 98 is just unbelievable to think about. The wide diversity of species and the seasonal movements means that there are fantastic shark diving options in almost every region. We got a great white, so great view of the incredible teeth on the great white shark. A shy shark, so gorgeous view of these little guys. Again, these sharks curl up into a little donut and protect their eyes with their tail fin, so that's how they get their name shy shark. So cute little Catshark, currently the closest cousin to the Izaks that we've been talking about. Blue shark. Oh, here we go. Is this... Okay, great. This is actually a nice little guide on all these different species. So let's just take a look here. I wonder if I can kind of squish this so that we can see all these South African sharks. Alright, so we got, of course, the white shark, the great white shark, the whale shark, two classic charismatic species. The seven-gill cow shark, it's also known as the broad-nosed seven-gill shark. That's the term I'm used to. The dusky shark, it's very cool to see the dusky sharks are in South Africa. They're also in the Mid-Atlantic region. This is a really great poster child species for shark conservation. These are endangered species that take about 3 years to reproduce. It's really, really the poster child of how fishing pressure can completely wreck a shark population, so dusky sharks are very important conservation-wise. The bronze whaler, we did a stream on that. I think that was last year, I believe. But a really cool species, open water species that has this gorgeous bronze coloration. The blacktip shark, it's odd to see it being called the oceanic blacktip shark. It's kind of strange. I've never heard it referred to as that. But this is Carcharodontis lombatus, so the classic blacktip shark. The short fin mako. So beautiful streamlined cousin. I mean, this shark is unmistakable. Needs no introduction. Hammerhead sharks is a collective. This individual in the illustration is a scalloped hammerhead. You can tell by the indentation at the top of the snout. Bull shark. I really like this actually. Bull shark Zambezi. So bull sharks in South Africa are known as Zambezi sharks since they entered the Zambezi River. I remember being terrified as a kid of the Zambezi shark special. Terrified and fascinated. It was a scary 90s to 2000s documentary special on Zambezi sharks and how they entered the river, and there's been a lot of attacks in that river. So really cool to see it here. The ragged tooth shark, I was right that sand tiger sharks are also known as ragged tooth sharks in South Africa. The tiger shark, so beautiful to see this huge species patrolling South African waters. Blue shark, another classic. All the classics, like all the famous dive species, are all here, which is super cool. It's a shame they don't have the little ones. I really would like to see little sharks in the identification guide, but But there you have it. It's a collection of diveable sharks in South Africa. So, what else do we have? How many types of sharks live in South Africa's ocean? The list is longer and stranger than you may think. So, gorgeous view of a white shark. Short fin mako over here. Beautiful view. Thresher sharks. So that wasn't listed originally, but it looks like thresher sharks are native to South Africa. It's so interesting to see. This is actually kind of similar to the mid-Atlantic of the United States, and it makes sense. It's both areas are temperate water, so it's kind of cool to see that there's a lot of species overlap. A lot of these species are cosmopolitan species. Sand tiger sharks, also known as ragged-tooth sharks. Basking sharks, it's amazing to see that basking sharks could be found in South Africa. Great scale photo of how large these animals can be. Megamouth. So megamouth sharks, these are giant filter feeding sharks. So just like the basking sharks, they eat plankton. So it's really cool to see that. And this is something that we don't have. We do not have megamouth sharks in the United States. So it's actually wild to see. Goblin sharks, deep water species, not something that you can dive with, but still really cool to see that they're in South Africa. They don't have a picture of crocodile sharks, apparently are in South Africa. That, I think, is still the #1 stream on this channel, is the crocodile shark. I'm going to take another look. As far as number of views, it's always been fun to see which shark is kind of like in the lead as far as the most amount of views. Let's see, popular. And it's a crocodile shark. Crocodile shark has the most views, followed by the big eye sand tiger. So 2 lamnids are the most popular sharks on this channel. Let's see. This is a cat shark, and I want to say this is another shy shark. It's just this caption is not really helping me in terms of figuring out what kind of shy shark this is. But beautiful slit eyes where it gets the cat shark name. I got an oceanic white tip here. So all 4 dangerous shark species in the world: the oceanic white tip, bull, tiger, and great white. They're all found in South Africa. They're also all found in the United States. All 4 of those species can be found on the American coast. So this Hemigaliidae. So this Howard is snaggletooth sharks. So Hemipristis elongata in South Africa. Thereh also the white tip weasel shark Pelagius Leucolomatus. There we go. But I do want to zoom in on this snaggletooth shark. So we do not have snaggletooth sharks in the United States. We have the fossils, but we don't have the living snaggletooth sharks. So it's so cool to see that species in South Africa. So I'm going to zoom in on the characteristic teeth right here. So beautiful narrow lower teeth. Huge, broad, characteristic, serrated upper teeth. So not multicuspid, but serrated. So very cool to see that here. Okay, there we go. So cat sharks. So finback cat sharks. This shark is a little unusual. Let's see if I can play this without breaking anything. A finback cat shark. So this is unusual because this shark looks like a cat shark in terms of has the long serpentine-like body characteristic of cat sharks, but it also has the 2 high dorsal fins that I love that, Howard. I love my weasel sharks 100%. So I always think of you when I see weasel sharks or anything related to Hemipristis. I'm like that's Howard shark. So it's super cool. I really like these finback cat sharks because this is like such a clear intermediary between cat sharks with the long body, but also smoothhounds with the 2 triangular dorsal fins that are both kind of equally sized. This is such a classic smoothhound trait. So these are really cool sharks, and they absolutely deserve to be in their own group. Since they are so distinct looking from other kinds of cat sharks, most cat sharks don't look like this. So this is really, really cool to see. So what a treat. So I agree with your earlier comment that South Africa has such a high diversity of sharks. Here is the pajama shark. So more of a classic cat shark build, except quite a bit larger. It's such a really cool look on this shark too. So just the stripes. Kind of like the fun narrowing of the snout. It's a really interesting looking species. Hammerhead. So this is a scalloped hammerhead. So you can tell by the scallop shape at the top of the head where it has that indentation. It also has kind of like a more of a curve, more of a smooth, like a how do I say this? Like there's more of an arc with the head. It's not a T-bone shape. It has a little bit of a slight sickle quality with the pectoral fins and the dorsal fins, but not as exaggerated as the great hammerhead. So sometimes people confuse scalloped hammerheads with great hammerheads, but great hammerheads are unmistakable. They have just such a huge, like just a very, very extreme looking T-bone shape head and a very tall dorsal fin. Scalloped hammerhead is also a tall dorsal fin, but this guy's a scalloped hammerhead. Just overall, it's not quite as extreme looking as the great hammerhead. Got some hound sharks. So we saw a clip of one that really threw me for a loop. This one is... We got the school shark, the pencil shark, the flap nose, and a spotted gully shark. I want to say this is a spotted gully shark, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not as familiar with South African hound sharks, but really cool to see. This is kind of the classic smooth hound look with the two eagle-sized dorsal fins. The white spotted bullhead shark. It's a shame this photo is cut off because this is a gorgeous picture. I think we've seen this before. I think we did a stream on this species before. But gorgeous, gorgeous shark. Cousin of horn sharks, Galapagos bullhead sharks, Port Jackson sharks. Beautiful color pattern. So just gorgeous diversity in South Africa. We got the whale shark, the classic Rhynchodon typus, largest shark in the world. We have the tawny nurse shark, which looks like a classic nurse shark, except the fins are a little bit sharper looking. So, tawny nurse shark here, enjoying a coral reef. Zebra shark. This is a very famous species, very popular in aquariums around the world. So really cool to see this lovely little guy. We do not have zebra sharks in the Americas, so it's really cool to see this species, unique to the Indian Ocean. Really fun mention of kitefin sharks, so they could be found in South Africa, and bramble sharks. So this photo is also cut off, unfortunately, but bramble sharks could be found in South Africa. Oxynoidae, the rough sharks. So these are like the pyramidal looking sharks. They look like swimming triangles or swimming footballs. Sleeper sharks. So apparently I didn't realize that we had sleeper sharks in South Africa. The southern sleeper shark, that makes sense. So not the Greenland shark. This is a photo of a Greenland shark, but this is really more of an equivalent to the southern sleeper shark, which could be found in South Africa. Dogfish. So we have this funny face on the zebra. Yeah, he's very cute. It's actually such an unusual face where it's like it's got a big, just this big head with these tiny eyes. The spiracles are right behind the eyes and are huge. And then you've got this like sweet little mouth and like these cute little nostrils. This is a suction feeder, so it has the power to suck prey out of, like, whelks, conchs out of shells, just like nurse sharks. And like all electrolobe forms, its mouth is right at the tip of the snout, the front of the snout. It's in front of the eyes. Other sharks have their mouths behind the eyes, but electrolobe forms are defined by having this unique position of the mouth, which is right in the front of the eyes. Is the whale shark? Yeah. So You can actually see that in all of these species. So whale sharks, or electrolobiforms, they have their mouths in front of the eyes right here. Nurse sharks, or electrolobiforms, has its mouth right in front of the eyes here. And then zebra sharks, or electrolobiforms, mouth in front of the eyes. All other sharks have their mouths behind the eyes or under the eyes. So great example, the sleeper shark, its mouth is right underneath the eyes. So very different looking shark, very different order. Ooh, gulper sharks. So they don't have a video of this, but gulper sharks are some of the rarest sharks in the world. It's actually really cool to see that they're in South Africa. Let's see. Angel sharks. So let's see what species they have. The African angel shark. With rare sightings of the smoothback angel shark and the sawback angel shark. So gorgeous patternation on this species. Classic angel shark look where the lower lobe of the caudal fin is unusually longer than the upper lobe. Dorsal fins are both very far back on the body. Got saw sharks, so incredible diversity in South Africa. 6-gill saw shark right here. And last but not least, frilled sharks. So, and I'm sure there's also 6 gills and 7 gills. So, there you go, 7-gill shark, broad-nosed 7-gill shark in South Africa. And then I think there's a unique frill shark species. Yes, the Southern African frilled shark. So, unique to this region. And that's it. So, really amazing diversity of sharks in South African waters. Let's see. And I think that's it as far as shark biodiversity. So I have a few more clips and I think we'll wrap up for the night. But a few more clips of just some South African sharks before we go. So this is just a little clip show intro before we get to the leopard catshark. Definitely agree. Extremely cool assemblage. And here we go with leopard catsharks, Poroderma pantherum. So, cousin to the Grinning Izak shark. Not that closely related, but it's a different genus, but it's still a kind of cat shark. You can see the species is more of a robust build, very active hunter, which is kind of different from what you think of for cat sharks. Cat sharks tend to be, a little bit more content to remain on the bottom, a little bit more slow in their movements, but this shark definitely is a adept hunter. Beautiful fish here. Leopard cat shark going after its prey. And it's really cool to see how this species just kind of, fits perfectly into its environment. It can just swim into these little channels between the rocks so smoothly and effortlessly, and then disappear just like that. Gorgeous patternation on this cat shark too, but it's perfectly adapted to its environment. So, and then, I think this diver is trying to help it get dehooked. So really cool clip. Some other African sharks, the puff adder shy shark, really adorable species. These are, I mentioned it before, but these are sharks that kind of cover their faces when they feel threatened. So this one is a small little guy. It's amazing to think about that you could dive with this species in clear water. But small little guy is sticking very close to the bottom, perhaps searching for prey. These delicate little fins. It looks like he smells something or something that he's interested in this particular area. So he might be looking for a clam or a marine worm, something that's buried in the sediment. It looks like he is trying to uncover something right now. I love the name puff adder shy shark. It refers to the head, which kind of has a more angular look, reminiscent of pit vipers. So that's where it's its name. A puff adder is a pit viper. Pit vipers famously have they're snakes that famously have their heads larger than their bodies. Because they have these venom sacs. So it's kind of like a cool visual homage to pit vipers, where the shark gets the name from. But it's completely harmless. Beautiful, almost snake-like pattern too, with the blotches on its back. So, but it's arguably the most harmless shark you would ever meet. It's this adorable little guy, just cruising on the seabed. Beautiful species. We've got a little short clip of a pajama shark in a kelp forest. So just really cool footage of this species drifting through these enchanted seabed of South African waters. Again, just some phenomenal diving here. Another cat shark. This looks like a shy shark. I think this is also a shy shark. Whoops. Cruising over some sea lettuce. And I'm sorry for the lag on this. I know this is kind of like cutting out, which is really unfortunate. So we'll give it some time. But it's really cool to see the shark just kind of cruising over the sea lettuce. But I think shoot, I don't know why that's kind of interrupting. I'm gonna try one more clip and then I might call it a night. Okay. We'll try one more time, and then I think we'll finish with a video finale of Sharks of South Africa. Yeah, I don't know why that's kind of like cutting out for that clip. It might be the resolution. So we'll just do this one final clip, and then we'll wrap it up. But it's been, the Grinning Izak has been a really fun gateway to seeing South African shark diversity. Here is a tiger shark. And it's a great species that kind of brings, or highlights this region, where I know the Grinning Izak doesn't live directly in South Africa, but it lives in a similar habitat in southeastern Africa. And, ooh, a dark shy shark. We haven't seen this before. Pajama shark. Let's see if we could see any other kinds of cat sharks in this area. The spotted gully shark. That's a smooth hound. The hound shark, seven-gill shark. This is the broad-nosed seven-gill shark we've talked about. Be careful diving with this. The sand tiger, also known as a ragatoo shark. Great school of them right here. Beautiful species. The dusky shark. It's so cool to see these. It's so cool to see these in a clip. The white shark, also known as the great white, iconic. Massive animal cruising through the mid-water column. Some humpback whales. There's an amazing seascape here. Little jellyfish. Hawksbill sea turtle. That one looks like a green sea turtle. A scalloped hammerhead, Sphaerna lewinii. It's so cool to see that here. Beautiful scalloped hammerhead shark. Nice little school. Actually, big school. Moray eel. A bull shark, Carcharanus lucas, swimming in mid-water columns. So eerie to see that, actually. Tiger shark, same thing. These are both pretty populous coastal species, and both very dangerous coastal species. Whale shark, Syrincodon typus. Largest shark in the world. Great opportunity to dive with these in the open ocean. I love the whale shark just like swimming with its mouth wide open. That's so cool. And again, these are very harmless sharks. They focus on plankton. I think they can eat small fish, but they do filter for plankton. Great clips of rays. We got another 7-gill shark right here. Diver getting really close. I think underestimating the species. Again, the 7-gill sharks, they're not safe. They're not like dangerous, but they're not like safe sharks to be around. So just be careful. Those look like bulls from a distance. It's hard to tell, but I think those are bulls. And there we go. So I think with that, we can probably, well, no, I'm going to go back to the reef. I don't want to end on talking about white sharks. I kind of want to talk about, there we go, the smaller ones. But I think we'll end the stream there, but and we'll end a little bit early. It's just that we don't have a lot of information on the Grinning Izak. It is currently a data deficient species, and you know what? To do the outro, maybe I should just focus on the Grinning Izak. There we go. So this is a data deficient, not the honeycomb Izak, the Grinning Izak. There you go, the Grinning Izak. So this is a data deficient species that we don't know how well or poorly it's doing, but we do know that its cousins in other parts of southeastern Africa vary from doing very poorly, endangered species, to doing pretty okay, least concerned species. Given that the Grinning Izak lives in 200 to 300 meters, which is kind of the same range as the endangered Izak cat sharks, I would say this is probably a shark that's not doing super well, but it definitely is a shark that needs a lot more research. We don't really know a lot about it, and in preparation for the stream, I could only find 1 or 2 references to it. It was discovered in 2006, and yet we just don't really know a lot about it, being a deep water cat shark species. So this is a great call to action for future shark scientists. If you need a shark species to study, the Grinning Izak is a really good pick, and Izak cat sharks in general are a really cool group to focus on. They're a beautiful group of sharks that live in this really interesting, mysterious world of the Twilight Zone, and I think they would be a really great research project. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you tuning in for tonight's stream. This shark was kind of a fun gateway to other species and learning more about southern African shark biodiversity and seeing how high it is. So 90 species in one region of the world is kind of incredible to think about. So I think this was just a really fun pick. So I'm excited for next week with the Portuguese dogfish. That's going to be very exciting, and I think we should have a lot of material on that species, so I'm super excited to cover it. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and thank you again so much for watching. Just hope you have a great rest of your summer, and keep it sharky, and I will see you next week for the Portuguese dogfish. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.